Coming to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, this is the Spit Sports Show. The Dallas Mavericks advanced to Luka Doncic's first NBA Finals by defeating the number 2 seed in the West, number 1 defense in the NBA, defending championship killer, Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games in dominant fashion, led by a 20-point eruption first quarter where Luka outscored the entire Timberwolves team and really never looked back. Now, I am so happy that the Mavericks have advanced to the finals, if I'm being totally authentic. This isn't just because Luka has been my favorite player since he entered the league, but it's also because I think Luka making the finals has really turned up the heat and has made the best player in the world discussion the most interesting it's maybe ever been in the history of the league, at least until about Kareem's rookie season. So before I get into this, I want to give my explanation of how I see the best player in the world. And the greatest basketball media personality maybe ever, Bill Simmons, did this recently where he kind of did it year by year, where it wasn't exactly like eras of players. It was more like Wilt Chamberlain took it from Kareem in 1972 after Kareem's first championship, and Dr. J was the best player in the world for a little bit, and Dirk Nowitzki over LeBron in 2011, just like year by year. But that's not exactly how I see best player in the world, this imaginary championship belt that NBA fans have been seemingly discussing since Kevin Durant and LeBron were debating for best player in the world, or probably before then. But at least 3 years is my kind of flat line. You need to have 3 years of overarching dominance over the league for you to be included in the historical list that I'm about to ring through for best player alive during your time. So, to give a better explanation of what that is, I'm going to go through how I see the history of best player in the world. And I'm going to start the year after Bill Russell retires. So 1971, Kareem wins his first title, and I think he holds on to the best player in the world belt until 1983. Some would argue Moses from about 80 to 83 had an argument for best player in the world, but for me, it's hard to go against Kareem when he was finals MVP in 1980. He had won 6 MVPs up to that point, and I know that Magic came into that organization and took it over, but Magic wasn't the best player on that team until about 1984, undisputedly. So I would give it to Kareem to about 83, and then Bird takes it for his 3 straight MVP run. He takes from 83 to 87. After that, Bird's back starts to go a little wonky on him. Magic takes it back from Bird, or not back from Bird, takes it from Bird from 87 till about 91. He wins a couple titles, couple MVPs, and loses best player alive to one Michael Jordan in 1991, where Jordan wins his first championship. And I think he holds on till that best player in the world championship till 1998. And I know some people are going to mention, what about Hakeem Olajuwon? He won 2 championships in the middle of that era. But I would say, I think Jordan was still the best player in the world at that time. He just wasn't playing basketball. Remember, those two were drafted in the same draft class. Their careers were pretty much in line with one another's, and Jordan always outshone Hakeem. So it's just hard for me to slap that label of best player face of the league on Hakeem when Jordan really missed a year and a half of action. You can argue that, but I'd go Jordan till 98. And then Shaq takes it from 99 till 03. Duncan then takes it from 03 with his first championship till about 07, where I think LeBron takes it with his second greatest finals run, somehow taking a team with Ilgauskas as their second best player. Zildjiuskis, I think was his first name. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it. But anyways, with that playoff run, the 48 special against Detroit, I think he became the best player in the world, and I think he held it till 2020. There's an argument for Kobe from about 07 till 2010 that I would absolutely listen to. But even if we include Kobe, and even if we include Moses, since Bill Russell retired, that's about 45 50 years of NBA history, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys have 9, if you include Kobe, have held the title of best player in the world. That is a exclusive list of NBA players and NBA legends. But since 2020, it has been an odd 4 years for this championship belt, which historically has been super steady. Now, 2021, the year after LeBron wins his last championship, goes on an incredible playoff run, which I think is still underrated. He shot 60+% from the field in the finals and was just so efficient throughout that entire bubble round, also keeping his team together. 2021, the year after this, was the year of Giannis. Remember, Giannis drops 50 to win the championship, which I think was more to do with Phoenix's coaching. But anyways, he still did it. He dropped 50 to win a championship. And this was it. Like the NBA media all kind of concurred. Like year after LeBron, here's our new athletic, can't stop him from getting to the rim freak. And that's the end of story. Best player in the world, right? Well, the next year, his second best player gets hurt, Chris Middleton. He then loses to Boston in game 6 and 7, where he scores 25 and 20 points in those last 2 games when he was up 3-2. Loses that series. The next year, they're the 1 seed again, and they look like world beaters, favorites in the East, and he gets nicked in the first round, barely plays, and they lose to the Heat in 5 games in the first round. And this year, they're out in the first round again, and they can't figure it out with their new star that they acquired. So Giannis had it, but these last 2 years, he hasn't really held up his end of holding on to it. 2022, the year after Giannis, Steph got his ring, but he's not really in this discussion because his era for potential best player in the world was his back-to-back MVP years and that 73 win season. And the 2 years before he won his championship, he missed the playoffs and he got knocked out in the second round the year after his championship, and then he just missed the playoffs again. So sorry, Steph, bye-bye. You're not in this conversation. 2023. This is the one that really is going to get the conversation going. Jokic, he wins 2 MVPs before he wins his championship. He then wins it. And he looks like he is going to be the guy to finally pick up that belt and hold it for a few years. Completely unstoppable offensive force. He's 7 foot. He's got a great team around him. The Nuggets cruise through everybody in that postseason run. And the next season, they lose the biggest Game 7 collapse in NBA history to Minnesota, and all of the sudden, it's right back up for grabs. And then we get to 2024. So right now, there's 3 people generally in the conversation for best player in the world with Luka's recent ascension to the finals. It's him, Giannis, Jokic. So I'm mainly going to be comparing him to those 2 for this debate. And again, this is a lot more projection than it is currently, because I think Luka will be looked back on as the best player of this era and will be looked back on as he held that best player in the world belt for a significant amount of time. And all of this is obviously if Luka beats Boston. And, he should be on pace. He should be on pace to do that. It's going to be a heck of a series, but we'll see how that goes. But Luka's been on pace to be the best player in the world for pretty much his entire life. Like, people forget, Jokic was a second-round pick drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. Giannis was an unknown guy from Greece who was picked very high by Milwaukee and developed beautifully. But Luka Doncic, just a genuine basketball prodigy. He's at 16 years old, younger than I am now by 2 years. He's a contributor in the second best league in the world. At 18, he's the MVP of said league and a champion. 20 years old, he's first team All-NBA. 19, he's winning Rookie of the Year. And he's been first team All-NBA ever since. He has more first team All-NBAs than Steph Curry does, which is a bonkers stat. He establishes himself as one of the best playoff performers of all time. He's still second in all-time playoff points per game behind Michael Jordan. He puts on legendary performances against the Clippers with two of probably his hardest matchups just physically in Kawhi and Paul George, torches them for nearly 35 a game, hits one of the cleanest walk-offs you'll ever see in your life in the bubble, and just torches the Phoenix Suns, beats them by 30 in a game 7, and goes to the Western Conference Finals, which with what was not a good roster. And for the majority of his career, he has not exactly had great rosters or great teammates to play with. Dwight Powell and Tim Hardaway Jr. were big contributors, starters for this team just a year ago. And now on this new Mavericks team, they're not even in the rotation. They don't get minutes in the playoffs. That really tells you all you need to know. But Luka was just so great at generating great looks on offense that it didn't matter who he was playing with. He needed a couple shooters and a lob threat. They just needed stops. And they couldn't get him for the longest time, but eventually they put the right roster around him. Genius move bringing in Gafford and Washington. You signed Derrick Jones for the best veteran minimum signing I can remember in a long time, and boom, here they go. So this playoff run, if he finishes it off, is definitely more impressive than Jokic or Giannis's title run. The Clippers in the first round, they started as plus 1,300 favorites to win the championship before the playoffs, only behind Denver and Boston for best odds to win the championship. Second round, they played the one-seeded Thunder, who were favored against the Mavericks. Round 3, number 2 seed. Like I said, number 1 defense in the NBA. Just knocked off the defending champions. Have the best momentum you could possibly have, probably, as a basketball team. Deal with them in 5 games. And now in the finals, you are playing against the team that's been the best all year, one of the best point differentials in NBA history, a stacked roster, a starting 5, which looks like it was made in 2K. And everyone's giving him a chance because Luka is just that great. And this postseason run, he's averaging 29, 10, and 9, which is ridiculous, but it's actually a dip from his normal career playoff averages of 31, 9, and 8. But that is due to the fact that A, he has Kyrie Irving on his team taking a load of that offense off of his shoulders, and B, he's able to use that newfound energy that he can spend resting on offense, watching Kyrie cook, to use on defense, which he has improved mightily at throughout this entire run. I've seen him get burned a couple times, no doubt about it, but no more than any other defender in the NBA, really, that isn't, just an average guy. He's been good on defense, and he's absolutely been committed to it, which has been rubbing off on his teammates. And just in general, the most important thing as the best player, either on your team, in the world, whatever, this is the same for whatever level of basketball you play. The best player, can you consistently create good looks in the half court? It's the hardest thing to do in the sport. It's the reason you get paid hundreds of millions of dollars. Can you create good shots in the half court? And Jokic and Luka are at a different level at that than anybody else in the league. So that's the reason for me Giannis is out of the best player of the world in the world conversation right now. I know he makes up for it defensively, and he's right on that cusp. I think he's top 3. This is no discredit to him, but he can't really generate in the half court the same way Jokic and Luka can. And so between those two and who I think is going to, be the guy of the future, it's really a toss-up. But I think what separates Luka from Jokic are intangibles. Everyone's seen it. Luka is a dog. He looks like he has a personal, just seething, loathing hatred for every single person he's playing against, or every single person in an opposing arena that's watching him. He looks like he is angry all the time. at the refs, at his opponents, at the fans. He intimidates people. Like Luka's the type of guy who can take the soul out of a building in a playoff series to close it out. I've seen him do it twice. I've never seen a crowd more quiet than the Phoenix Suns crowd was after this first half. And that Minnesota crowd stayed in it, but the Timberwolves themselves, they were depleted after that first quarter. He sucks the soul out of you and he lets you hear about it. And I think that little bit of just extra will, extra little bit of edge, I think puts him over Jokic, not only as a player, but we like that as fans. We like the trash talk. We like it when Anthony Edwards is talking to Kevin Durant. We like it when Luka is, doing that iconic meme to Devin Booker. It's something. And, all the jokes about him sunning all of these people, and he's just got an edge to him that Jokic doesn't have. Jokic wants to win basketball games. He's very intense, very good leader. But compared to Luka, it's just, there's another level to Luka's competitiveness, I think. Jokic wants to race horses, and that's cool. And he's an unbelievable basketball player, might be the best in the world. But if you're asking me who is going to carry this NBA torch, face of the league, best player in the world for the next 3 to 5 years, got to put my money on Luka Doncic. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I want to know, who do you guys think is going to be the guy of the future? Maybe Anthony Edwards, maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Bring up some guys. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. I am small enough as to where I can respond to most comments, and I love doing so. So please drop me something down there. Please like the video if you enjoyed what you heard. Please subscribe. Over 250 subscribers on this channel. Big things happening on the Spit Sports Show. And as always, I will see you in the next episode. Peace out.